My name is Bruce Stevenson of Today's Dental Consulting, and what I'd like to talk about are possibly upgrading your office protocols regarding COVID. So we've got our surveys all automated so they go out with the confirmations. The problem is the patients hate it and they're complaining a lot about having to do this. And so a lot of our clients have just stopped doing it. I'm not going to give you any advice on the standard of care. That's going to be up to the individual doctor. What I'm suggesting is if you want to drop the questionnaire, maybe there's a middle ground. The CDC makes a big distinction between people who are vaccinated and people who aren't vaccinated. So what I'm going to show you is a fairly easy way using some of the features of Open Dental to tag vaccinated people. Once a patient says they're vaccinated, maybe you can quit bugging them with things like temperatures and surveys, and also make it a little bit more comfortable for staff to work around them. So what I'm talking about is creating a tag that's going to show up several places in Open Dental. In the appointment, for example, also over in the paperless routing slip, which Open Dental calls the dashboard. If you still use paper routing slips, it can show up there too. So the first thing we want to do is figure out what kind of a note we want to create. We could have a treatment note there in the chart. The problem is that doesn't show up in the appointment book. If you go down here to the medical urgent note, that shows up pretty much everywhere where we want it to be. You just double click on that and then you can put your note in there very easily. Okay, so let's mark somebody here that came in today and then we asked them and they said, yes, I've had the COVID vaccine. We just go into the chart and into medical note in there, right mouse click, date stamp it. You always want to do that. And now we can put a note in there. And I suggest you use a quick note, which is really very easy to do. All you're going to do is type the question mark and then the abbreviation for your note, and boom, it puts it in there. Now you don't have to do it that way. If you've got a lot of them in there, you can simply right mouse click and it'll show you all the quick notes. And then don't forget to put your initials in. All notes should have your initials. So again, that shows up everywhere in Open Dental with just one entry. How do we get to show it up in all these different appointment views? For instance, here's an appointment view and it doesn't have that note in there. So let me show you quickly. We're going to go into Setup, Appointments, and then Appointment Views. And the one we're talking about here is the Docs, the F2 view. I'm going to go down and find the Medical Urgent Note right there, and then move it over into the center where it's going to show up in the body of those notes. Now, I can move it up and down on the list. I can also double click on it and move it over to the right-hand side, either to the upper right or the lower right if you want to. I tend to like it right there. There you go. Now it shows up in there. So let's go to Setup and then the Quick Add Notes right there. How are we going to add that note in there? Now I set up a category that's going to show up everywhere because I don't have that many different notes. So you can set them up so they only show up in specific categories if you want to. Just go down in here, click Add, and then put your note in there and the abbreviation. So the abbreviation can be just one letter, and anytime you type the question mark and then that letter, it will automatically put that note in there. It's pretty handy for doing your signature here too. So how do we get it to show up in the paperless routing slip? Well, it's a little bit more complicated. So we're going to go into Tools and then Dashboards, and I'm going to click on that one, and here's where you can edit how that dashboard appears. Now this is not the most user-friendly thing in the whole wide world. This is one of the sheets. So I've created a sheet both for the paperless routing slip and also for your regular paper routing slip if you use them. And so it's probably easier to use mine, but you certainly feel free to go in and modify it. So now I'm in my sheet setup, and now if I double click on that, there's the one I set up for the routing slip. One thing to be aware of is give yourself lots of room for that urgent medical note, because if there's not enough space in there, it tends to truncate it in kind of funny ways sometimes. In the description below this video, I've included a zip file that has both the paper and paperless routing slips, and also some cheat sheets here for the appointment view setup and the quick notes setup. Hopefully this little video showed you how to put together another piece of the practice management puzzle. If you'd like to talk with us about ways to use Open Dental to make your office more profitable and easier to operate, give us a call or just click on that little icon on our website, todaysdentalconsulting.com, and you can schedule 24/7. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get notified about future videos. And feel free to share the video with your friends. We appreciate it.